Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X research and professional physicist. And today I'd like to bring to you another one of my articles. This one is entitled Planet X System Object Closely Approaching Earth. Now, a recent photograph sent to me by Urbain LeVerrier is shown below, as you can see it, it's here, where several concentric semicircles or arcs are seen in the sky. This is what we can see here. These semicircles, or you could say they are arcs. Now, although rainbows are usually in the form of an arc, these are clearly not due to a rainbow, as there are no rainbow colors associated with the arcs. Instead, the arcs seem to be in several different tones of gray. They also appear to be quite hazy and very bright at the bottom center. Since the sun was actually above the head of the person who took the photograph, the light that seems to be coming from the center of the arcs cannot be the sun. So you can see it looks very bright, as if in the center here. Now, this cannot be due to the sun because the sun cannot be there. The sun is actually out of the image and above the head of the person taking the photograph. This is the original image, and you can see the brightness and the glare is even greater here. This image, we could only see the details once some of that color was, so this image was darkened. But this one, you can just see that bright outline there. And then when it's darkened slightly, then some more details, these numerous arcs or rings, if this is actually a circle surrounded by rings, appear. Now, this is another image that Wayne sent me, and in this image he enhanced it. And what is interesting is that you can see that these rings or these arcs seem to be behind the horizon or go below the horizon. So they seem to continue. And that would suggest that this is actually a circular pattern that we have here with rings around it. The edge is also not well defined, and it gives the material that's forming these arcs the appearance of being cloud-like, and also it must be giving off light. Now, this is not the first time that this phenomenon has appeared in the sky. As you can see, this photograph is from November of 2017, and you also see arcs, these arcs in the sky. And this was taken from Australia. Now, the object was most likely not as bright, because we don't see the same amount of glare, and there's even some hint of an orange coming from this bottom central portion. So the object was likely not emitting as much light in November of 2017. Now, the sun, almost likely a sun simulator. So this is most likely a sun simulator because, as you can see, it's very bright here, but it's extremely bright in this region here, as if this source is actually illuminating the cloud just in front of it, but not further out. And this would indicate it's actually in the atmosphere and just behind the cloud, and therefore a sun simulator. This object is too clearly seen to be an actual real object. It appears to be inside the atmosphere because it's so clearly seen. And this means that it has to be a holographic projection. It's most likely actually distracting us from seeing what is of real interest, which is these arcs in the sky. So the arcs in that image are behind the clouds and the sun simulator, and therefore not likely to be an atmospheric phenomena, which suggests that these arcs are due to an object outside the Earth's atmosphere. And the fact that it appears to be so hazy in figure 2 also indicates that it is behind the haze created by the chemtrails and therefore most likely outside of the atmosphere. This would mean that this is a large spherical object very close to the Earth. Less than half of the object is observed in both photographs. In this image, because there seems to be cloud below it, so we can only see it above the cloud here. And now the object appears to be brighter in the more recent photograph than in the photograph taken last year from Australia. This means that the object has become brighter and is thus emitting more light than before. This is consistent with it being a stellar core that is absorbing energy and therefore becoming brighter as time goes on. Stellar cores seem to develop a bright spot which is brighter than the rest of the surface, and from where the light emission seems to spread across the surface in the form of concentric rings. So if that's the case, we'd expect this to be that bright spot, or the spot that gets brighter first, and then the rings beyond that would get brighter next. So this first ring would become brighter, but not as bright as the central spot, and it would spread from there through all the rings. And so you may look at article 286 entitled Planet X is Blue, the first stellar core, where I detail that about the bright spot and how the light seems to spread across the surface of the object from there. Now, in this last photograph, the circles also seem to not have a very well-defined edge, as in the earlier images, which indicates that it is enveloped in a cloud-like type of layer. The concentric circles may then be stripes on an object that is pointing one of its poles, the north or the south pole, at the Earth. So this would be that orange spot which becomes brighter in the more recent images, and these may then, what we observe as rings, may actually be like stripes on the object. So from the side it may look like this. Now, the fact that such a large object was observed close to the Earth and yet there was no cataclysmic event indicates that this object does not have the same gravitational influence that we would expect from a normal object, which would also indicate that it is a stellar core, an energy depleted celestial object, and a member of the Planet X system. The Planet X system is made up of a large number of dead planets and stars which absorb energy from and assimilate star systems. And you may look at article 244 entitled The Planet X System, Destroyer of Star Systems for more details. Now, the stellar core seems to be about 20 times larger than the Sun in the sky. So the Sun's angular width in the sky is given by this equation. When I first looked at it, I estimated it to be about 10 times the size of the Sun. But then I realized that the Sun simulator is usually made to be much larger than the real Sun. So it's more likely that this is actually 20 times larger than the actual Sun. So I use that in this calculation then. So this is the equation that gives the angular width of the Sun. It's the diameter of the Sun divided by the distance between the Earth and the Sun. And the radius of the Sun is given by this in kilometers, 695,508 kilometers. And the distance, or RES, between the Earth and the Sun is 150 million kilometers. So using that, we get in radians 9.27 times 10 to the minus 3 as the angular width of the Sun. And then we convert it to degrees, and it's 0.53. Then this object, because it appears to be 20 times larger than the Sun, would have an angular width of 10.6 degrees, and its angular width would be given by this equation, where ROB is the radius of the object and REOB is the distance between the Earth and the object. Then if we place it at the same distance as the moon, which is at a distance of 382,900 kilometers from the center of the Earth, then the object's radius would be 35,494 kilometers. This would mean that it would be 20 times larger than the moon and 5.6 times larger than the Earth. And that's using the moon's radius as 1,737 kilometers and the Earth's radius 6,371 kilometers. However, since the object is a stellar core, it may be a lot closer to the Earth than the moon's orbit. And the moon is at a distance of about 6 Earth radii, or at about 60 RE, where R is the radius of the Earth. Then if the object is only at about 10 RE, and that would place it just beyond the geosynchronous orbit, then the object would be about the same size as the Earth. But stellar cores may come even closer than that, as they are often observed inside the sun's corona and thus very close to the sun's surface. And it's likely that they will behave in the same way with the Earth. Thus, if the object is at a distance of 1,000 kilometers or 621 miles from the surface of the Earth, which would place it at the very edge of the Earth's atmosphere, the object would have a diameter of 1,366 kilometers or 849 miles. And that would mean that it would be 1/10 of the Earth's diameter or 2/5 of the moon's size. So it would be a lot smaller, but still a very large object to have so close to the surface of the Earth. So in conclusion, a Planet X object or stellar core seems to have now been observed twice in close proximity to the surface of the Earth. The object's size, if at a distance of 1,000 kilometers or 620 miles from the surface of the Earth, would be about 1/10 of the size of the Earth. If the object is further, it will be much larger. The object seems to have brightened since the last time that it was photographed in November of 2017, which suggests that it is absorbing energy from the Earth and getting bright as a result. The fact that the object is pointing its brightest spot at the Earth also suggests that it is absorbing energy from the Earth. And these are the references. This is Dr. Claudia Albers, Planet X physicist. Thank you for watching.